Hello everyone, my name is Josep and I'll be talking about Treesitter. More specifically, we'll be writing a small text editing automation with the help of Treesitter, and we'll hopefully give you some ideas on how to create these sort of automations for your own use cases. So I mostly work with TypeScript and Vue, and the problem we'll be tackling today comes from my everyday struggles. So my problem is JavaScript. Asynchronous code in JavaScript. Because calling an asynchronous function in your code requires you to mark your functions as asynchronous. So if make API request is an asynchronous function, then when calling it, you need to use the await keyword, and then you also need to mark your function as asynchronous with the async keyword here. So if you have a bunch of functions calling each other, and one of them is asynchronous, then all of your functions are now asynchronous. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of a pain to manually mark all of your functions as async. So let's make Neovim do the work for us. And I have here a demo JavaScript file. And what we want to happen is that if I type await, then Neovim would automatically go to the beginning of the function definition and add async here. And that's exactly what we want to get done. So let's get to it. I have my .files open here, and I have a file in the FT plugin directory called javascript.lua. Which is executed anytime I open a JavaScript file. So here I already have a key map set up. So in insert mode, whenever I type the letter T, then we call this add async function. And if you do it like this, then the letter T isn't actually typed into the buffer. So we need to do this manually. And that's what we're doing here with the NVim feed keys. So what's the first thing that we need to do? We need to figure out if the user is typing the word await. So if they're in this position. And what we can do it by getting the text on the current line and then checking the 4 letters before the cursor, like if it includes away, basically. So we can get the current line by using the getLine function, and we can use the dot for the cursor's current position. And then we can get a substring for that based on the cursor's horizontal position, which is this call function. And again, dot for the current cursor's position. And then we can subtract 4 from it because we want to get the 4 letters before the cursor, right? And now we can save this to a variable called text before cursor, for example. And let's print it out just to see if we're on the right track, if we have everything that we expect. So if I reload my config and type await, then at the bottom left, you can see we output away, which is exactly what we want. So if I type T over here, then it's something else, right? So now we can just check if the text before the cursor is not equal to away, then we return. And we know at this point, the user has definitely typed await, right? So next up, we need to actually go and add async to the beginning of the function, right? And this is where Treesitter comes in. And we can use this inspect tree command to get like a visualization of the Treesitter tree, basically. So this is kind of like a syntax tree. So if my cursor is over here and I'm typing await, then on the right, you can see the variable declarator node is highlighted. So that's where the cursor is currently on. And if we look over here, then we also have a function declaration node, which is what we want. So we need to find the function declaration that is kind of the parent or the ancestor of the variable declarator that the cursor was on. And we can do it by going up the syntax tree until we get to this function declaration, and then we then we have our node that we want to be dealing with. So let's get this function declaration node. And I have a function in my .files that can basically do this. So it's called find node ancestor, and we can pass in the node that we're looking for. So function declaration, I think it was called, yep. And we also need to pass in the current node. And we can get the current node by using the Neovim Treesitter API function called getNode. And if we don't pass in any arguments, then we just get the node that is in the cursor's current position. And we can save this to a variable and then save this one as well as a function node. And now this find node ancestor function is actually pretty simple. It gets the node's parent and then calls itself with this parent. So it's going recursively up the tree until it hits the node that we're looking for, and then we just return it. So let's print this out as well, this function node, make sure that we've got the correct node here. And we can use the type method to get the name of the function. So if I reload the config and type await, then at the bottom left, we can see function declaration is outputted. So probably we have the right node. And we also need to add a check here that if there was no function node found, then that means the user typed await, but they weren't inside the inside a function, so they were just typing it somewhere randomly. So now we have the function node, and the next step is to actually go and add this async word to the beginning here. And as we can see in the function declaration node on the right, the inspect tree command actually gives us a hint for this already. It gives us the start and end locations of this node. So we can see it starts on line 3 and ends at line 7. So here we actually have the coordinates that we can use where we can insert our text. And we can get the start location very easily by using the start method on a Treesitter node. So let's save this to a variable. Start row and start column, and let's print these out as well, just to make sure we're on the right track. Reloading the config and then typing await, and then at the bottom 3 and 0, so line 3 is column 0. So exactly what we were looking for, and now we can actually just insert the text with NVim buff set text function. It needs the buffer number, which is 0 for the current buffer. And then the start row, start column. And then the last argument is the text that we want to insert. So it's async here, right? So let's reload the config and then type T again. So now it's actually already working. We have async shown up here automatically. But if I type await again, then we add it twice. So that's not what we're looking for, obviously. So we can add a check for that as well. And we can do this over here. And if we look at the function declaration node here, then we can see that it actually includes the text async here as well. So what we can do is get the text, the whole text of the function declaration node, and then check if it starts with the word async. And we can get the text for a node pretty easily with the with another Treesitter API function called get node text, and we can pass in the function node, which is the node that we want to get the text of, right? And the second argument is the buffer number, which is 0 for the current buffer again. And we can store this in a variable, function node text, and well, let's not print it out because it should be straightforward. And then we can use the starts with function to check if this function node text starts with the word async, and if it does, then we just want to return here. So let's reload the config again, and if we type await, then we don't add async twice, which is good. And if I just reset everything and type await again, then we should be good. So that's exactly what I wanted to show you. And as you can see, it wasn't actually that difficult at all to do this. We just needed to check if the user was typing the word that we were expecting. Then we got our Treesitter nodes, and then doing some more checks, make sure we're not doing things twice. And then actually inserting the text into the buffer is just 2 lines here. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to do this sort of automations with the help of Treesitter. We didn't need to use any regular expressions or where we could just use Treesitter to ask questions about our buffer in a structured way. So if this seemed interesting, then I have some links here for you. On the left, I have the full snippet that we wrote today. In the middle, I have my .files if you're interested. And then on the right, a blog post that I wrote about a very similar topic with some more examples that maybe can give you some inspiration. So thank you for listening and have a lovely rest of the conference.